Welcome to XRP Pro Ledger, and what I am about to walk you through today is the kind of structural intelligence that does not make it onto your social media feed, does not get covered in mainstream crypto headlines, and does not get assembled in one place with the precision it deserves, because doing so requires reading official documentation, not rumors, and connecting verified institutional signals in a way that most crypto analysis simply does not do. SWIFT, the 50-year-old global interbank messaging network that processes the majority of international wire transfers across 200 countries, just published something on their official website that should stop every serious XRP holder in their tracks. They stated publicly that ISO 20022 will level the playing field between fiat and crypto. At the same time, there is a document sitting on Ripple's official website that most XRP holders have never read, most analysts have never referenced, and that describes in operational detail a system that is already live, already connected to the Federal Reserve's own payment infrastructure, and already processing real transactions with XRP as the settlement asset. The railway is built, the train is loaded, and Standard Chartered has published a price target that the current market price has not even begun to reflect. Let us go through every piece of this right now with the precision it deserves. Let us start with Swift's ISO 20022 statement, because the specific language they used on their official website is more significant than any headline about it. And reading it precisely, not for what we want it to say, but for what it actually says, changes the entire framing of where XRP sits in the global financial system right now. Swift documented officially that ISO 20022 will level the playing field between fiat and crypto. They went further, stating that the innovation allows fintech companies to create their own ISO 20022 compliant digital currencies. This is not an endorsement of XRP specifically. It is something structurally more important than an endorsement. It is the global interbank messaging standard, the technical backbone of international wire transfers, formally acknowledging that digital assets can now operate within the same compliance framework as traditional currencies. And here is the precise detail that makes this directly relevant to XRP above every other digital asset. The XRP ledger has been ISO 20022 compatible since its architecture was designed. This is not a standard that Ripple had to retrofit into its system after the fact. ISO 20022 compatibility was built into the XRP ledger from the beginning because Ripple's founders designed it specifically for the institutional finance environment that ISO 20022 represents. High-value, structured, compliant, cross-border settlement at institutional scale. The competitive implication of Swift's ISO 20022 acknowledgement is specific and immediate in ways that the market has not yet fully priced into XRP's current valuation. For the past decade, the primary technical argument against deploying XRP in institutional payment infrastructure was that crypto assets did not fit within the compliance and messaging frameworks that banks were required to operate within. ISO 20022 removes that argument. At the standards level, a digital asset that is ISO 20022 compliant can now participate in the same settlement ecosystem as any fiat currency without requiring the bank to step outside its existing regulatory framework to do so. And Swift, the organization that was supposed to be crypto's primary institutional competitor, just published that acknowledgement on their own official website. The institution that processes the majority of international interbank messaging across 200 countries has formally documented that the technical barrier separating traditional finance from crypto settlement is being removed. When the incumbent says the playing field is being leveled, the institutions evaluating which digital asset to use on that leveled playing field are going to choose the one that was purpose-built for it. XRP was purpose-built for it. And its ISO 20022 compatibility from day one is the proof. Now let us get into the Ripple Treasury documentation, because this is where the operational reality of XRP's institutional deployment is most clearly and precisely visible, and it is a document that most of the XRP community has either not read or not read with sufficient technical attention to understand what it is actually describing. Ripple's official website documents the Clear Connect Gateway, a significant expansion of Ripple Treasury's Clear Connect platform. The documentation states explicitly that with Clear Connect Gateway, organizations now have instant API connectivity and data integrations into their preferred banking partners. And critically, Ripple Treasury confirms integration with FedNow through this system. Let us be completely precise about what that means. FedNow is the Federal Reserve's instant payment infrastructure, the infrastructure that the U.S. Central Bank built to enable 24/7 real-time payment settlement across U.S. financial institutions. It is not a crypto system. It is the Federal Reserve's own payment rail. When Ripple Treasury documents a live integration with FedNow through Clear Connect Gateway, they are documenting XRP-powered payment infrastructure operating inside the Federal Reserve's own payment ecosystem right now. Not in a future roadmap, not in a white paper, but in current operational documentation published on their official website. The operational flow that Ripple has documented on their official website is specific enough to deserve a precise walkthrough because it is the exact mechanism through which XRP functions as the settlement asset inside the Federal Reserve's own payment infrastructure. Ripple deposits XRP into the customer's designated wallet. The customer retrieves and accepts a quote using the Ripple API. The customer uses Ripple's on-demand liquidity technology to liquidate XRP to the destination currency. The customer transfers the destination fiat currency from the wallet to the local bank account, and Ripple invoices the customer for initiated payments in aggregate. This is not a theoretical architecture. This is not a proposal. This is a documented operational flow published on Ripple's official website describing a system that is live and processing real transactions through the Federal Reserve's own payment infrastructure. Michael Gao, CEO and co-founder of RitoPay, has publicly stated that by integrating Ripple's enterprise blockchain network, the goal is to reduce settlement times from the typical 1 to 5 business days down to just minutes. That confirmed operational capability exists right now inside the same Federal Reserve infrastructure that the U.S. banking system depends on for its core domestic payment settlement. The last-mile payment dimension adds a global operational layer to the US-focused FedNow integration story that changes the total addressable market calculation for XRP in a way that most analysis is not assembling clearly. Jack Coulan, Ripple's Asia-Pacific representative, made a specific public statement about what XRP is being used for in Nigeria right now. He described the Send Crypto, Receive NGN feature as addressing the last-mile problem, providing a seamless off-ramp for digital assets into the real economy at the exact point where existing correspondent banking infrastructure is most inefficient, most expensive, and slowest. The last mile is the final step of a cross-border payment, the point at which value moves from the digital settlement layer into the local economy where the recipient actually lives. It is the hardest part of international payments. Fees are highest there, delays are longest there, and Ripple is testing and deploying live solutions to this problem right now in Nigeria, in Southeast Asia, and in other markets where the pain of existing payment infrastructure is most acute. The significance of this for the institutional deployment thesis is specific. Ripple is not waiting for US regulatory clarity before building operational infrastructure. It is building in every market simultaneously, proving last-mile capability in emerging markets while connecting to the Federal Reserve in the United States at the same time. The Nostro and Vostro account liberation story is the financial mechanism that ties the FedNow integration, the SWIFT ISO 20022 acknowledgement, and the last-mile deployment strategy together into a single coherent price thesis. Right now, banks around the world maintain approximately $27 trillion in pre-funded Nostro and Vostro accounts, currency pools held in foreign banks as buffers that exist solely because the existing correspondent banking system is too slow to settle transactions in real time. This $27 trillion in capital is sitting idle, earning minimal returns, tied up in operational inefficiency rather than being deployed productively. When XRP's on-demand liquidity replaces the need for these pre-funded accounts by providing instant cross-border settlement in 3 to 5 seconds, that $27 trillion comes back to the banks. The financial incentive for banks to make this transition is not subtle. It is $27 trillion in trapped capital that they can redeploy the moment they adopt XRP-based settlement. And the infrastructure to make that transition is not being planned. It is documented as live and operational on Ripple's official website right now. Standard Chartered's published price target of $1,260 for XRP by 2028 is the institutional modeling that puts a specific number on what the operational infrastructure we have been analyzing throughout this video is worth to the financial markets that will eventually price it correctly. Standard Chartered is not a crypto-native research firm chasing engagement with optimistic price targets. It is one of the most respected global banking institutions with a research division that stakes its professional credibility on the accuracy of its analysis. Their $1,260 target is based on institutional modeling of XRP adoption curves and settlement volume growth, the same kind of quantitative framework that institutional asset managers use to evaluate any financial infrastructure investment. The mathematics of settlement liquidity that underlies that target are straightforward. The asset that settles trillions of dollars in daily transactions cannot trade at the price of an asset that settles millions. As the volume of value moving through XRP's settlement infrastructure grows, through FedNow integration, through last-mile deployments, through DTC tokenization production deployment, through Swift ISO 20022 leveled playing field adoption, the price at which XRP can efficiently serve those settlement volumes necessarily adjusts upward to reflect the liquidity requirements of the institutions using it. This is not a Moonboy argument, it is a liquidity mathematics argument. The DTCC tokenization dimension is the near-term catalyst that makes the Standard Chartered $1,260 target a 2028 story rather than a 2035 story. And understanding it requires appreciating the scale of what the DTCC moving to tokenization production in the second half of 2026 actually means for on-chain settlement demand. The DTC clears and settles the majority of securities transactions in the United States, approximately $2.15 quadrillion in securities transactions annually. When the DTCC moves tokenization to production, it is not a pilot program for a small subset of assets. It is the foundational settlement infrastructure of the American capital market system, beginning its transition to blockchain-based settlement at scale. The tokenized assets flowing through DTCC infrastructure need a settlement layer that can handle institutional-grade security, instant finality, and regulatory compliance at the volume the DTCC processes. The XRP ledger, with its 13-year zero-exploit track record, its ISO 20022 compatibility from day one, its live FedNow integration, and its post-quantum cryptographic upgrade roadmap targeting 2028, is the infrastructure that meets every one of those requirements. When DTC tokenization goes to production and that settlement demand lands on the XRP ledger, the price discovery mechanism that the market has been waiting for begins operating at a scale that current prices cannot contain. The complete picture that Swift's ISO 20022 acknowledgement, Ripple's FedNow integration documentation, Michael Gao's confirmed real-time settlement capability, Jack Cullinan's live last-mile deployment confirmation, and Standard Chartered's $1,260 institutional price target paying together is one of the most compelling gap analyses in the entire financial markets right now. The gap between what has been built and what XRP currently trades at is not a mystery. It is a lag, the time between when infrastructure becomes fully operational and when the price discovery mechanisms of financial markets reflect that operational reality completely. Swift acknowledged the playing field is leveled. Ripple documented the Federal Reserve connection as live. The last-mile deployments are operational across multiple markets simultaneously. The DTC tokenization production deployment is targeting the second half of 2026. And Standard Chartered's institutional modeling says $1,260 by 2028. The railway is built, the train is loaded, the Federal Reserve is connected. The departure time has not been publicly announced, but the infrastructure has never been more complete, and the price has never been further behind the operational reality of what has already been deployed. If this analysis changed how you're thinking about XRP, hit like and subscribe. I drop deep dive breakdowns like this twice a day to keep you ahead of the market.